That's it, just there, 90 degrees.
What are you doing, George?
I'm just perfecting my takeaway, Marcus.
You do realise there's no such thing as a takeaway, don't you?
Well, I beg to differ. I had a Lambooner last week and it was bloody gorgeous.
No, in golf, I mean.
Oh, but Marcus, I've been told hundreds, if not thousands of times, that if I get that takeaway just right...
George. Look, the only takeaway we're involved in is taking these away. Right. Just take your setup to that ball for me.
Okay.
Pass me the club. Now, just hit the ball. Play your shot from there.
Okay.
There we go.
That was pretty good as well.
So you see, there's no such thing as a takeaway. Maybe your booner, but definitely not in a golf swing. So we've just seen George hit a great 7-iron, 180 yards, bit of draw, nice strike, without even addressing the ball. But if you found yourself, and to be honest, we've all found ourselves in this situation at some point in time, alignment sticks pointing in every direction, but in this case, along the toe line and along the shaft line, trying to obsessively follow that line and get this takeaway absolutely perfect in the hope that that's going to eradicate any potential errors in the backswing and the change of direction and the golf shot, then we're probably focusing our attention in the wrong place. Because I'm not saying this part isn't important, but so is the other 99% of the golf swing. And if we're just focusing our attention deliberately for hours and hours on this part of the golf swing, then how does the rest of the body and the swing adapt and take place? We've got to use the whole body. We've got to attune ourselves to the full golf swing, the whole motion. For example, have you ever found yourself thinking about how you move in the first few inches of throwing a ball or kicking a ball? It would be completely absurd to think about a natural action in this way. Yet we think about that when we practice golf. Yet everything else that we find natural in life in terms of movement, we wouldn't possibly consider thinking in that way because we'd find that of detriment to actually executing the movement. So maybe we need to just get back to what we do naturally. Maybe we just need to tap in to using this golf club like every other sport movement in life. Whenever we use any piece of equipment, we just attune ourselves naturally and we use this as part of the action. We don't assume some kind of movement and then hope that the golf club just fits into that motion, because we've got to attune ourselves to this. We've got to use it. This has been designed in a certain way for us to use naturally. Well, what we just did with George was just took the takeaway away. Lo and behold, he could play a golf shot. Now, it's not quite as crazy or left field as you think, because the body knows where the ball is, the same as every other sport you play, and it adapts its movement around that ball. So as long as we attune ourselves to this club and start to explore how we move, we're giving ourselves an opportunity to tap into our natural movement. Now, what we're going to look at in this video is momentum and using the ground. Because if you've been practicing with an alignment stick, checking the swing plane, checking the club face, what you've been doing all that while is just tensioning the body to move in such a deliberate fashion that essentially disconnects us from the ground, because I'm not actually using ground reaction forces in the way that I would with every other movement. So for example, let's take...
Hi guys, I just want to let you know about 2 one-day golf schools I'll be running in Holland on the 19th and 20th of this month. So not long to go. There's only 4 places per group. It's $699 for the day. So it really is a fantastic opportunity to experience everything in a small group where we really do get to grips with your whole game in a day, full GRF experience. There's 2 coaches, all the gear, all GRF, pressure plate, flight scope. It's going to be a great day. Hope to see you there. Only 4 places. Please guys, follow the link, get in touch for details. It's going to be a great day. Hope to see you there.
So for example, let's take a ball on a piece of string. Gravity is our friend. Normally we're fighting gravity all the time, but in golf we can use gravity. We can accelerate this mass and it's going to create more force. But how does that initiate? If I just try to move this and twist it, the ball goes nowhere. Even if I try and throw it back from here, from this static place, it's not effective. But as soon as I move towards the target and then quickly change direction and then let go, we've got momentum. And essentially what this ball represents is the swing weight of the golf club. This is the handle of the golf club. And you'll often see players moving the handle, moving the club, waggling the club, forward pressing. They're recruiting the ground. They're using this body as a system, as a whole, and they're transferring energy through to that golf club. And it creates momentum. It's going to create speed. Suddenly now we've got a swing weight moving that's going to create its own trajectory, its own geometry. And if we get out of its way, we're going to let this golf club do most of the work for us, and it becomes a free swinging weight in space. And guess what that does? That creates a very consistent action. All we've got to do is recognise it. We've just got to recognise how we initiate this, and then we can essentially get out of its way and let this thing swing. And essentially that's what we're doing in every other sport, every other movement. So how are we going to do it in golf? Well, if we take the club and just hold it with your trail hand, with the thumb and forefinger, and just swing it from side to side. Now, if you try to swing it like this, you're not going to get much joy. But if you start to move it from side to side, suddenly the club swings. And now we can actually increase the momentum by accelerating the handle and letting it stop and rotate. And this essentially is what swings the club. So I could let go of this golf club now and it's going to fly in a very similar way to that ball. But we're not going to let go of the golf club. We're still holding the club. But what we've got now is we've got natural momentum. Now, because the ball is in front of us and we're stood to the side, we've got a natural incline. So the swing plane emerges organically. It's not something you've got to artificially construct deliberately with this superficial tensioning that just doesn't exist in a natural motion. It's actually just prevented us from actually using the whole body and using the ground, because there's so much tension in the system, it constrains the rest of the body. And while your focus is over here, you're losing awareness of potentially what the body could do and how you could swing it. So it's time lost where you could be applying your focus in a much more useful, beneficial place and way. So let's explore how we can create this momentum from the ground and use this linear force to create what essentially is angular momentum. So all I want you to do is take the club and just flail it. So you could put your hands together and think of a fishtail. It's the same thing. This is our mechanism for getting momentum through to the club. And what we're going to do, we're going to create that momentum with the body. It's going to start from the body and transfer through to the club. Your golf swing has already started way before the club is taken away from the ball, because there is no takeaway. It's just a fluid reaction. We're reacting. We're going to use the ground, we react, the club moves. And it's as simple as that. So just like any other powerful, propulsive movement, we're going to move to the target first and then move away. And that allows the club to react. This action can now react, and that's going to let the club swing. Essentially, that's the swing. We can get out of its way by removing the takeaway. Take your setup to the ball, start with your feet together, and you're just going to take a little step to the left and just forward press. Then you can take a step back and swing. And start to let this thing just behave naturally. We don't need to get actively involved, because all we're going to do is slow the process down. If we're consciously trying to break it down and in some way control this movement away, we're actually getting in the way of this natural momentum. So it's a recoil. We're actually moving to the target, which creates momentum in this direction, and then we very quickly step back, and now we've got momentum away from the target. This counter move before we swing the club back is at the heart of everything in terms of fluidity, swing plane, takeaway. And we can start to play around with this momentum. We don't have to be so quick. I'm doing this quite quickly, but we could start to spend more time utilising that momentum. We can start to explore, just like throwing a ball. If we want to throw a ball further, we're probably going to make a bit more turn. Kicking a ball, there's going to be more of a backlift. Same in any sport, cricket. We're going to utilise more of our range. But this momentum that we're creating is now going to let us access that by letting it go. Trust the body, trust your rotation. And that's how we can start to get that natural swinging action by removing any thought of a takeaway and just tapping into what we do naturally.